Hi, my name's Chip Bruss with RE/MAX of Boulder, and I'm here with Kendra Prospero, who is the CEO and founder of Turning the Corner. Welcome, Kendra.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's jump right in. And I wanted to learn a little bit more about Turning the Corner. I understand you're a recruiting and human resources company that works both with businesses and job seekers, right?
Yes.
Which is a little bit unique.
Yes, very unique.
So tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
We are one of the only companies in the country that serve individuals who are on a job hunt, so maybe somebody who is relocating here to Colorado, as well as we serve companies who need help with recruiting, HR support, training, all of the things that basically with the umbrella of lead to people either loving or hating a job. So our overall mission is to make sure that everybody loves their job.
We're in real estate, obviously, and we're in a similar field of helping people that are coming in and looking for a new life.
Right.
We're finding them housing, you're finding them jobs. How can you benefit us and our clients as they move to Boulder?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I think the number one thing is a lot of times people come here with at least one member of a family having a job. And so there's one person that is secure, but the spouse is often not. They don't have that job yet. And we have worked with a lot of those spouses to help them figure out what they want to do next. Some of them have been maybe stay-at-home parents too, where they haven't been in the workforce for a while and they're not even sure how to get back in. And so that's one of our favorite groups of people to work with, really helping draw out their amazing skill set and then how to translate that into work locally here. And then, some folks just flat out move here, which is really brave. And both sides need to help having jobs or finding a job. And so we also have worked where we've even put package deals together where, we work with both spouses to help them both at the same time. And we help with a variety of things. Again, it's helping them with the coaching if they're not sure what they want to do next, or it's helping with that resume and the LinkedIn profile so they're now known in this market. And then additionally, we also can help connect them in with our network. I have a staff of 17 people, and between myself and my whole team that are incredibly active in our community, I would be hard pressed to think that we wouldn't be knowing or know of pretty much anyone in this state at this point. And we're really happy to make those connections. They may not turn necessarily into a direct job, but they're going to turn into at least an informational interview or a nice coffee date where your network is getting more and more expanded.
A connection.
Connection, yeah. We are definitely connectors.
Because when we're out with clients in the car, we and them are focused on housing.
Right.
That's what we're focused on. But the conversation is about also, including what do you do for work and, what is the spouse doing? And so oftentimes that comes up. What can we do to help redirect our clients to you? We will
talk to anyone, anytime. So at a minimum, send them our way and we will give them as much as we possibly can in the time allotted. And we generally have availability on our calendars with 15 to 30 minute increments that are just free. Let's just diagnose what's going on, help you figure out what might be next and how we can best serve you. And so send them to at least our website to sign up for one of those free consultations. It's Turning the Corner LLC. .com, and then there's a job seekers tab, and right there you can click on a button to sign up for a 15-minute consultation, and from there we can just diagnose what's the best solution. We never want anyone to spend more money than they need to. We want to just figure out what is that, we're going to assess it, diagnose, prescribe, and fix.
See, that's a great resource because I know the job question can be very stressful. I mean, moving in general is stressful. You got housing, I got jobs, I got kids, schools, all that. So if we can have a ready resource to be able to direct people to, that would be great.
Yeah, and that makes your services more valuable as well, and that you're not only giving them just a house. And we're connected in then too with the best lawyers in town, the best accountants in town, we have a big network too of just other service providers. As a matter of fact, we have a great packet that's on our website that people can just download. And it's a Move to Boulder packet that covers a lot of this, including you guys too.
That's fantastic. That would be very useful.
Yeah.
So why did you start the company? And tell me a little bit about why you're so passionate about supporting people. Well,
so I was, believe it or not, I was a software engineer for IBM before I started this business. And I had a much more of a technical path at IBM. I worked there for about a dozen years. But one of the things I kept noticing year after year was a number of people who I would say were just dying on the vine. They were very talented, but they weren't showing up for work and giving it their all for a variety of reasons. And I've always been curious about why people do the work that they do. And so I would get into conversations with them about, why do you love this job or why do you hate this job? And oftentimes I would end up then in deeper situations where I was actually helping them find a job, but inside IBM. And so I just realized I had alongside this sort of software engineering, I had a gift for helping people figure out what they were great at and how to turn that into work that was meaningful. In 2011, I kind of got a kick in the pants from a good friend who said, hey, you're really good at this, and I think you should go teach other people how to do it. And so I started researching it, and I realized there was this huge hole in the market, and that there were people who were very well-meaning, who could give good advice, but they didn't really know what they were saying. And the people who knew what they were saying, what was really happening in the market, recruiters, they weren't helpful to the individuals. So I saw this hole in the market, and that's what really prompted me to open up the business, is to fix a big problem, is to serve people who are on their job hunt, but then also make sure that we're the expert in it by serving the companies. And so now 7 years later, that's exactly what we've become.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you weren't in human resources at IBM.
I was not.
How did you make that transition?
Just the crooked path to success. I mean, people laugh at me now because it's a fairly successful business that's grown, almost 100% every year. And I had no business plan. I had no idea what it was going to be. So yes, I apologize to all of the entrepreneurs out there who put a lot more thought into the opening of a business. But I literally Googled the term turning the corner, found turningthecornerllc.com, bought the domain name, filed for an EIN number, which is the business number, and voila, I owned a business.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, but within a day I had clients, and so I sent out an email to everybody I knew, and sure enough, we were on the path. So
you've talked about the people revolution. What does that mean? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So we serve about 1,000 individuals on a yearly basis, and they find us by Googling the term, I hate my job, Boulder, or I hate my job, Colorado, or maybe resume writer as well. But there's that heavy term of I hate my job. And we've just been doing a lot of more anecdotal research now the last 7 years and pulling together all the reasons why someone hates a job. And it really comes down to one fundamental reason. And that is, and you will hopefully not be surprised by this, but Google was a little surprised by it. They could have saved a lot of money if they had just called me, because they did this huge study on why someone loves or hates their job. And it's something I've known for years. And the number one reason why someone hates a job is that they don't feel cared for. And generally, who cares for us is our managers, our leaders, and then the culture that is surrounding us, for sure. And so I now just am seeing people who are not willing to put up with it anymore. They're not willing to put up with a jerk. They're not really willing to put up with a manager who's micromanaging them or is so hands-off that all they do is when they do come in, they swoop in like a seagull and just make a big old mess of everything, right? Mm-hmm. So people are they're not putting up with it anymore. And I'm just starting to see more and more conversations that are happening, again, anecdotally in our office, where people have just had it. And I can just feel a momentum that's building. And I think the next wave of what we are going to be dealing with from an economic perspective is going to be figuring out how to serve people in their jobs in a way where they're thriving and they're giving it their all, of which everybody, by the way, benefits from that. Mm-hmm. And then also, ultimately, you're giving people, finding that they are happier in their jobs, and it cascades down into our neighborhoods and into our families, into so many other things. And so I believe it's going to be coming in the next 5 to 10 years. There's also a lot of other things in the works that are really encouraging too, for just how we treat each other in terms of our strengths and our weaknesses. Instead of hiding behind our weaknesses, we're seeing more and more people embrace their weaknesses and also then highlight more of their strengths. And so all of these little tiny steps just lead me to believe that there will be this revolution where people at work are what's going to start mattering more than the technology and more than even the processes.
Mm-hmm. So people matter.
They absolutely do matter. And I don't understand. This has been a shocking and just something that just does keep me up at night trend, in that 3 out of 4 people self-report that they hate their job. And this has been something that now has been going on for over 20 years. So surveys have been run in the last 3 years that show this trend. 3 out of 4 people hate their job. But this same stuff came out 20 years ago, which means in a 20-year time span, over a generation of time, we have not moved the needle on helping people love their job more. And my question, and the thing that's so shocking to me about it is, who benefits from us hating our job? Do customers win?
Nobody.
No. Does your boss win? Does your team win? Do you win? Like, nobody wins. And so you would think that we would have done something to fix this problem of 3 out of 4 people hating their job. And so that's really my ultimate mission, is to end suffering in the workplace.
Wow, that sounds like a big mission.
Yeah, it is. I don't think I'll get there, but we'll try.
But if people are unhappy in their jobs and ultimately it's about the relationship with their manager, then how do you change that? Because you can't change all the managers in the world.
You actually can. You can't change them all. But one of the big trends, especially here in Colorado or in communities that are full of smaller businesses, which Colorado is primarily a small and medium-sized business community, is that we don't train our managers on how to be a manager. And it is a skill. You would never put somebody on an assembly line and say, you got to do this, 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 and this, and this, and then leave them. You train them on it. Well, management is exactly the same thing. It is not a born skill. I mean, I have worked with thousands of people now. I have never met a born manager. Now, I've met people that have a personality that is more designed for management, but you still have to train them on how to keep people on track, how to hire well, how to make sure that you're not going off on people, you're having dignified conversations, how to listen empathetically. All of these things are trained things. We know how to train it. And this is another thing, is I've trained hundreds of managers now, and I've seen the transformation when people are trained. So you can fix it.
And is that something that your company does?
We do.
The management training, leadership training?
We have a very, very basic management 101 for brand new managers or people who've been in management even for a while, who've never had any training. And it's phenomenal training. We've run it now for almost 4 years. And we recently reached back out to our first cohort that ran through the training and just asked them like what they remembered. And I was so surprised that they actually remembered 2 to 3 points from each module that we teach. And I was like, they actually got it. And so we teach it in a unique way. It's 2 hours every other week as opposed to like a 5-day offsite or a 3-day offsite. So people really have a chance to learn a skill, practice it at work, get coaching in between, and then learn another skill, practice it at work, get coaching in between. So they really learn the techniques. And so I think that's why it's so transformational.
So it seems to all go back to the fact that you work on both sides of the industry, with working with the businesses and the job seekers. That must give you a broader picture of the labor market.
Very true.
What do you see happening in Colorado? What's the crystal ball?
Well, so Colorado, especially for those of the folks that are moving here, right, from out of state or even from the Western Slope or from other parts of the state, what needs to be remembered is that it's primarily a small and medium-sized business community. I don't remember the exact number, but there's something like 200 businesses that have over 3,000 or 4,000 employees in all of Colorado. Compare that to California or New York or Texas, I mean, that's not a very large number. Primarily, it's small and medium-sized businesses, which means that they're going to be looking for that kind of a skill set as well, as somebody who can come in and work in a small environment, is not going to necessarily have every process in place, is willing, probably going to take a little bit more of a pay cut than what they would have made in like a more corporate America type job. The pay scale is definitely a little bit lower than in other places. But I would also say it's an incredibly exciting place to be, because there is nothing like being an entrepreneur in Colorado and being a business leader in Colorado. Everywhere I go, I'll meet a stranger, and within a few minutes, it inevitably turns to the conversation of, well, how can I help you? What do you need? You don't see that on either of the coasts. Nobody lays their cards on the table and says, here's what I got. What do you need? But you see that here in Colorado. So that's another amazing trend. There's just nowhere better to do business, I don't think, than Colorado.
Meaning that people are just more friendly in the business world here, wanting to help each other?
Yeah. I would even put the word loving on it. Wow. People are just more loving in the business community. And I hope that doesn't offend anybody.
No, are you kidding? We drive Subarus, and Subaru is all about love.
Yes.
Colorado has a very low unemployment rate, as we all know. And Boulder, I think, has the lowest unemployment rate in the state. Yep. So how is that affecting both sides of your business? One
sad thing that actually, I think when we go back to that statement of who benefits, the one person who does benefit is me, and that I win from people hating their jobs, which is not how I want to be. I'd rather end all of that, right? But the good thing is that, again, 3 out of 4 people hate their job. And so there's plenty of movement still in the market. So if a company is willing to actually do the right things to create an environment where people are thriving, where their culture is great, their pay is decent, they're well-defined in terms of their mission and their values, what they're really looking for in an employee, we know we can find a perfect fit for them, regardless of the company. And because there's so many people who are actually on the job hunt. As beautiful of a place as Colorado is to live, it is recently been studied as the worst place to work in the country.
Why would that be?
I think it comes back to that management point, in that we don't train our managers on how to be good managers. Again, we're primarily a small and medium-sized business community, and we just aren't training our managers on how to be good leaders and managers. So that's my very, very unscientific opinion.
But in order to attract and recruit people, if you're in a tight market, don't you have to make your company and your management and everything more attractive to those people coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell, again, more anecdotally, but I can almost always tell a company who doesn't have a very good culture, and that they're the ones who have a lot of job postings. So they're not filling the role because they're not attractive to others. Now, that's not always the case. It could also be rapidly growing. There's other things that are going on. But companies that are well-defined on their vision and their values, and they have a recruiting strategy against that, because you want to hire, fire, manage, train, govern, and promote against your values and your why. When you do all of that, and then you have the HR programs in place that support all of it instead of implode it, and then you're training your managers on how to be great managers, and your leaders are being trained on how to be great leaders, you have a fabulous culture. I'm sure of it, because it's deliberate. And then you're not going to have the same issues at all recruiting that other people will.
Right. I mean, we've all heard the word toxic culture, right? So I guess the word gets out in a positive way or a negative way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? To the people that are looking for jobs.
Yep, absolutely. Glassdoor. Glassdoor.com is a website where people can go to basically complain about their employers. And it's primarily been used in the past from larger corporations and larger companies. We're seeing it now hit the small businesses as well. So nobody can hide behind a crummy culture anymore. Just like nobody can hide behind bad food because we've got Yelp. Nobody can hide behind poor service. I mean, we've got this. This is another thing that I think is leading to the people revolution, is that we have all these things coming in place now where we are constantly judging each other, hopefully in a positive way, but if bad behavior is not tolerated. Right? And so the same is happening with companies.
Let's talk a little bit about, on the job seeking side, what are the main ideas that you try to communicate to those job seekers, and when you're doing your coaching on that side, what's the message you're sending there?
Anyone who's on a job hunt, there's 5 questions that you need to answer. And wherever you're answering no is where you probably need help. So the first thing is you've got to know what you are good at. And again, I've worked with thousands of individuals, and I've never met somebody that I didn't believe in once I knew them. Everybody has a gift to give this world. I know this for a fact. And I am a critical, doesn't suffer fools kind of person. But I just can see people after I've been given 5 minutes with them even. So you have to know what you're good at. The second thing then is you need to know what it is exactly you want to do next. And it's got to be pretty direct. Like, I want to work as a real estate broker for a medium-sized firm that's well known in the in the Boulder area. And I'm actually on the job hunt right now, targeting organizations like Remax, right? Or whatever. And so you want to be able to be really specific about what it is that you want to do. If you don't know those 2 things, what you're good at and what you want to do, you probably need some career coaching. And that's one of the things we offer, is we help coach people to help them figure that out. The third question then is, how are you marketing yourself? And you market yourself in the way you show up passively online, LinkedIn. You market yourself with your resume, and then you also market yourself with that commercial. So what do you do, right? That thing I just said a minute ago. If you are doing all the right things around that, especially in this job market, you should be getting interviews. And that's the 4th question. Are you getting interviews? And if you're not, then something's not working in your marketing package. You need help with your resume, you need help with your LinkedIn profile, or you need help with the way you're networking. And then the final question then, of course, is if you're getting interviews, you should be getting an offer. And so if you're not getting offers, then something is probably breaking down during the interview. And we interview dozens of people a week for our recruiting jobs that we do. And so we really know like what works and doesn't work in an interview setting, just as both a hiring manager as well as the rest of my team that does a lot of recruiting. And so then we help and support with interviewing skills.
Another question I have is around the aging population that says that the 65 plus population is the largest sector in Colorado, but also we're number 3 in the United States.
Wow.
So that must be affecting the labor market as well. How does that translate into what you're doing in your business?
It's a very difficult question to answer because there's a couple things that I have noticed. We do work with a fair number of older job seekers who are on the job hunt, who for one reason or another believe that they are being discriminated against and there's ageism. And so I've, again, anecdotally really gone deep with this with a number of my own clients that are older, as well as how they're perceived by the business community. And it actually has nothing to do with their age. It comes down to a skill set. Do they have the skill set that is required? And what happens is when you get older, you aren't as likely to go to be out there and be in front of technology or be able to really understand the craziness of what might be going on with like social media or whatever it might be. And so it ultimately is not about ageism, it ultimately is about your skill set. And so I really always recommend to our older job seekers to continue to be a lifelong learner. I know that's kind of a little bit of a cliche, but when you're a lifelong learner, you are staying on top of the technology. I mean, my mother-in-law is a great example of this. She didn't need a new car, but she's like 86 years old, so she's a little outside the demographic. But she said, I need a new car because I'm not going to know how to run these cars where you push a button to turn them on if I don't get a new car. Right. And so we bought her a new car, so she could just figure out how to use it while she still was lucid enough to do it. And so I loved that when she did that. And so I think we all need to remember that, like we've got to stay ahead of the technology. When I hear older people say, oh, that Facebook thing, or I'm not on LinkedIn, I think like, well, you're going to be behind. You're going to be past, and you are going to have a hard time finding a job later in life.
So on the other side of that coin, the baby boomers are the biggest population leaving the workforce.
Yes.
Because they're retiring.
Right.
So what does that mean for the rest of the labor market in a really tight market? Is that changing what's happening for managerial or entry-level job prospects?
Well, I mean, movement always changes things. But what we're seeing, especially in a tight economy like this, is we're really encouraging the companies that we're working with to try to think of creative ways to help keep some of their older employees still on staff. Because if they all exited about the same time, it's also going to be a huge brain drain. And so we work with a lot of companies to help them think of how to create a more flexibilized workforce. Flexibilized is a word I made up, by the way. Yeah, I bought the domain name too, so just in case. But baby boomers they don't necessarily want to retire 100%. Like they would maybe still like to work 10 to 15 hours a week, or maybe work 3 months out of the year. So they want to do some work, they just don't want to work 40 hours a week, 2,080 hours a year. And so if we can, create part-time jobs that really fit our baby boomer population, it benefits everybody. They get to continue to work and the company doesn't have that brain drain. But then the flexibilization goes beyond that too. I mean, my generation, Generation X, we really want more flexibility because for one, we're mid-career professionals, we know what we're doing and we want to be trusted more. Let me set my hours, right? Let me have my day be based on results, not on, am I sitting in my desk from 9 to 5? And then millennials are like, what the heck is this Monday through Friday 9 to 5 thing? I mean, does it make any sense to them, right? Because they've grown up with an iPhone. First thing they do, like we do, is we roll out of bed and we start looking at our phone and we start working, right? Well, that's all they've ever known. And so they're like, just trust me that I'm going to get the work done. I'm going to probably work more hours than what you're going to be paying me for anyway. And then Gen Z or the iGen generation or whatever we end up calling them, they're a whole nother ball of wax in terms of flexibility. So it's not just about that generation, it's about beyond that.
So what new trends do you see happening in the workplace, and is there anything that's going to become more common in the future?
A couple trends that we're seeing have been much more around the kind of collaboration. So people are using a lot more technology to really truly collaborate, which has been neat to see. It also can result in sort of technology proliferation, where there's so many tools inside of a company where people start losing sight of what they're supposed to use and not use. And so I would recommend to leaders to like limit it down, like every year have some sort of strategic move of eliminating one or two pieces of technology. So you're just keeping it trimmed. It's like pruning of technology. But that's been a really neat trend. I think another big trend then too is this having more flexibilized workforces. One of my favorite things to hear is when a leader or a manager will say, I don't really care when my employee shows up, I just want them to get their job done. It's a results-oriented workforce instead of it being 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. All of us need to be moving that way, or we're going to get hit by the train that's going to force us into that anyway. And so those are two big trends that we're seeing. And then there's also sort of an interesting right now, just in terms of how people are rating each other and ranking each other, really embracing strengths instead of just highlighting weaknesses. So I hope that continues.
Well, Kendra, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It sounds like we really have a collaboration, and we'd love to work with you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great.
So if people want to get a hold of you and your company, how do they do that?
The best way is to go to Turning the Corner LLC.com, or send an email also to hello@turningthecornerllc.com. There's always somebody monitoring that email box, and then you go to the website and you can find us all over the place there too. So
great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.